Okay, thank God.
Turn it on? No, it's already on. Okay. This is Curry, the adorable home robot.
Adorable.
Yes. She's made by my company, Mayfield Robotics. And she's designed to be an adorable character come to life in your house. And also, she's your family's videographer, so she'll drive around your house on her own and take 5-second snippets of, in my case, cats. But
So who was the inspiration? Was it the robot from the Jetsons or R2-D2?
more Rosie from the Jetsons than R2-D2. Well, talking-wise, R2-D2. She only makes beeps and boops.
All right. Anyway, it's totally adorable. She is, you're the CTO of the game-changing robotics company, Mayfield Robotics. And so we'll be talking about how you help connect machines to humans. Next is Randall. He's with OTTO Motors, focusing on warehousing solutions to make them run more efficiently. And you're also a bit of a historian, which we like when it comes to robots. And your goal is not to replace humans, I don't think, but to make sure that robots do the dull and dirty job, leaving us with the fun stuff, right?
That's exactly right. Maybe replace some humans.
What's that? Make it fun, right? We're going to have a test at the end as to whether or not Keay can replace a moderator for a panel. Because I am of the opinion that when the singularity occurs, the only job left for humans will be moderating panels. Which will keep me in business or whatever. Gary Shapiro, I'll say an old friend of mine, but that's rude. A longtime friend of mine, head of the Consumer Technology Association. He's seen tons of products come and go in a lot of fields, but he's also written a lot about innovation. New York Times bestseller, Ninja Innovation, the 10 Killer Strategies of the World's Most Successful Businesses, as well as a book called The Comeback. And that's about how we can restore the American dream, which will be interesting, and a black belt in Taekwondo. He will get the easy questions because I'm a little bit afraid of him. And Andra Keay, sorry, a really big thank you to Silicon Valley Robotics. It's a non-profit industry group supporting innovation and commercialization of robotic technologies. Also the founder of Robot Launch, which is a global startup competition, and she's been a mentor and an investor. Not in that order. Investor, mentor, to a lot of positive people who've been doing things in robotics.
I don't have enough money to be an investor first, so I have to work for my involvement.
Okay. And if you're wondering where the accent is from, she was in a slightly more interesting previous life, a punk rock singer with an Australian band. Don't do research on it. What was the name of the band?
Fortunately, it was before YouTube. I think the name is adult rated.
And one more shout out. Those who know the history of robotics, and know the history of robotics competition, there's one patron saint and guru of the field. I happened to run into him yesterday in Houston, Texas. Dean Kamen, inventor of the Segway.
I'm sitting right next to him.
But he has a wonderful thing beside him. There's Segways, water pumps, artificial arms and limbs for people, combat veterans who come back. He's also got 162, what is it?
Competitions for 60,000 schools.
60,000 schools around the world in first global competing each year to make a robot. It's bringing everybody from all backgrounds, all races, all genders into the robotics. Thanks for what you do.
All right.
We'll tell a small story, which is I did run into him in Houston, and he said, "Are you going to South by Southwest? I'll give you a ride on a plane." I said, "Sure." I called United, canceled the plane. It's only as we're driving up to the airport, I realized uh-oh, Dean is actually flying the plane. There's no pilot. And I have to ask Dean, did you build this plane yourself? Because I'm wondering, can I get out of one in a self-built plane that Dean is flying? Fortunately, there were other people who built the plane, and we have a wonderful. Let me start with you, if I may. You know, what are some of the coolest applications you're looking at now in robotics?
Well, Keay here, obviously. The Keay lead up Kay's major app, which is to be your family's videographer.
Now wait, when you say Curie, hello Curie. Well, she looks up and looks at she looks up and looks at me. Is it something that's voice activated and knows her name?
She knows if you say, "Hey Keay," to look up at you.
Aww.
And
What's the purpose?
that's her wake word. Kind of like,
No, but I mean, what's the purpose? Why did you invent her?
why did I invent her? I invented her because I had this robot dream of having robots like R2-D2, a roasted robot in my house. Robot pets, robot companions.
And do you think it'll sort of be a companion, like the elderly or the young or whatever? Will it have, or is it just a fun thing?
Keay can be a companion, especially kids love Keay. Many kids find Keay to be a companion, and they instantly think that she's their buddy, and they run up and hug her. She can kind of be a companion to older adults, but she's not super intelligent right now, so I certainly wouldn't want to only have Keay as a companion to an older adult relative, for instance.
From Descartes to the present, people have said the problem with robotics are a couple of things: pattern recognition and voice understanding. We're seeing big leaps in voice, not as big leaps in patterns. What are you working on in that field?
We are actually, I think, seeing big leaps in pattern recognition in terms of deep learning-based vision. Keay does person detection, she does pet detection, she does face detection. And all of those are based on open source libraries that you can download and use that do deep learning.
Matt, one of the issues ever since Ada's father, Lord Byron, gave his only speech in the House of Lords, praising the followers of Ned Ludd, i.e. the Luddites, to smash balloons, was that machines are going to put us out of work. Is that happening, and will it happen?
Oh, that's a big one. Technology has been changing and I believe improving lives for a very, very long time. Right? The ancient Greeks invented some technology that's fundamental to construction and water infrastructure. It is technology, but it's so ingrained in our society that we don't consider it technology. And so for me, I view technology, and especially robotics, as a capability that can fundamentally improve our lives.
Give me some examples of what you're doing.
So we are using self-driving vehicles to help improve manufacturing operations or warehouse operations. It's like the Google car, but we're moving pallets and boxes around busy indoor cities. That would be an automotive plant or a warehouse for e-commerce fulfillment.
And what is the hardest thing to do in terms of robotics? Is it making a hand that grasps? Is it making a sensor that can distinguish between products?
Robotics has come a really long way over the last 10 years especially. Robotics, I think, is particularly complex because it's a representation of challenges within hardware, challenges within software, challenges within connectivity and security, challenges within data processing, challenges within systems integration and design of all of those pieces all together into a single machine that can solve a valuable problem. So robotics is a very complex, multidisciplinary pursuit, and I think making it all come together to solve that one valuable problem is the challenge.
Gary, you've watched this evolve over the years. As we established at the beginning, you and I are the veterans in this room. Give us the history, as you see it, of both artificial intelligence, machines, and robotics, and how they're becoming products.
Well, as as you know, we own and produce CES, which is the biggest innovation event in the world. It's a trade show in Las Vegas every January. We attract about 180,000 people. We have 4,400 companies exhibiting. And we have a lot of very important people like yourself. And I have to point out one of the mighty audience, if I may. Congressman Will Hurd.
Hey, Will, thanks so much. Stand up. Are we in your district?
90 miles north.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's a really huge system.
Yeah.
So the focus as a nonprofit association representing over 2,000 American companies is we are focused on the concept of innovation. That is what we want. We believe that, as you said, it will solve major problems in the world. And robotics and artificial intelligence are definitely part of that. But we first saw a form of a robot, actually, at CES in the 1990s. And then, of course, we had the Roomba. And we've had a robotics portion of our show, which has grown about 20 to 30% a year since 2008.
Wait, give me
2006, I'm sorry.
Give me some context. The history of the Consumer Electronics Show, let's start in 1980 or so, when personal computers started being a big growing category.
Yeah.
Show me which category.
That's when IBM dominated personal computers. This is in 1981. We had just been being introduced with CD players, and we're fighting to protect the legality of new technologies like the VCR that were coming along. And as every new technology comes along, it's threatening the existing status quo, and there are concerns about jobs as well. So what we do is we face all these major issues, and there are big issues involving privacy, involving databases, involving existing industries like the motion picture, the music industry, and others, or as we're dealing with now with Uber and Lyft and Airbnb that are members, there are new things come along with this technology and innovation, but it threatens an existing industry, and then they go to Washington. We're based in Washington, and a part of our job is to fight for innovation. We actually rank every state, whether it's innovation friendly. One of the things is, are they favorable to drones? Are they favorable to sharing services? Are they favorable to new business models? Do they have broadband? Do they have STEM graduates? And we just started actually ranking countries in the world as to whether they're favored. Now, it's different with countries. Do they have clean air and clean water? Are they as diverse? Because our strength as a country, in my view, is our diversity promotes innovation. Do they have freedom to access the internet? Do they have freedom for new business models to come? So what we're focused on, the ingredients of innovation. Where we're going, it's logarithmic. You can't predict exactly where we're going, but we know, like, what's a self-driving car? It's a robot. That's what it is. We know we're going there. We know it'll save lives. We know it'll empower people with disabilities and other people. We know that's the right direction. But at the same time, we're going to have this major discussion we have to have about jobs. But you can go back in history. You can look at gas stations. What happened when we had, you pump your own gas? All those people who were pumping gas, they lost their jobs. Was that bad? Well, the gas stations responded. They had food stores, they have clerks, they have other things, and those people were freed up to do other more valuable things.
Give us the history of robotics and machine learning as part of the CES industries that you're in, consumer electronic industry. When did they become big in your show, and what issues do you face?
Well, it's as I say, it's growing about 20 to 30%. We're seeing artificial intelligence all over the place, obviously, but in terms of pure robotics, that is something which is, we grew 30% this year. It's a big part of our show. But when I talk about the future of the CS, I die to come back in 30 to 40 years and see that, because robotics is going to be a big part of the show. And obviously there's different types of robotics. There's the industrial robotics, which is very big. We have a lot of members that are focused on that, whether it's making things that humans aren't really good at doing, like making pizza dough for the major pizza chains, where you have to have a perfect thing in a very cold environment, and you have to do it right every time. It's very different for humans to operate. To consumer robots, like the Roomba and what we've seen over here with such a cute, I'm going to use the word cute, but you know what you mean. Yeah. Empathetic device. So, we see so many different things and going in different directions. At the CES, we had a robot that actually, let's face it, a washer and a dryer were great technology, but the stuff to fold, well, now there's a robot being shown at CES which actually folds all your stuff when it comes out of the dryer for you. How cool is that?
One.
Very cool.
I need that one.
And I'll explain why. And I'll get to Andra in a second. But I've heard 3 or 4 things that you say a robot can almost do, like fold a sheet, or try to visualize a pattern and know the difference between a cat and a dog, or the things you've been talking about. And yet, if I go look at Applied Minds, or I go to the total domain awareness of the New Orleans Police Department in New York or whatever, they keep showing me the cool things, like this can spot, I say, can it spot somebody's mother in the crowd? They say no. Can this robot walk across the room, pick up a crayon, and do the name? And they go, well, no, not yet, that's hard. Or can they fold paper? And these are all things a 3-year-old can do. So, Andra, I want you to think deep. Are you amazed at the progress of artificial intelligence and machine learning? Or are you amazed at the lack of progress?
Both. But I am involved in what we're doing. In fact, Silicon Valley Robotics would not exist.
Wait, speak up a little on that.
Okay. We're the non-profit coalition of robotics companies started by the robotics industry in the Bay Area to support innovation and commercialization, because there was the existing robotics industry, and then there are all of the new robotics industries coming out. And they're still very small, very new industries. And you think, well, Silicon Valley is the home to tech, but we're like the tiny little tadpole in a huge pond full of quite, hungry frogs. And robotics is like that. It's here now, but it's not widely distributed, as William Gibson said. And because of that, there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of disappointment. But what we fail to recognize is the incremental steps that are happening on a logarithmic scale. And I don't think we need to fear robots taking jobs, because the rollout is going to be slower than we fear. Yet, our jobs are going to be reshaped by robots. And that is going to be great, because right now the robotics companies that I know are working on areas where there are labor shortages. They're working in areas like agriculture, warehouse logistics, where you just don't have people, in areas of healthcare, where you don't have people. And I think the key is, as Matt said, the dirty, dull, and dangerous jobs. And the other thing is, when we look over the history of labor statistics, the unemployment rate has stayed roughly the same, around about 3 to 4% in total, since before the Industrial Revolution that changed agriculture completely, when once 80 to 90% of the US population lived and worked on farms, and they used horses, to 30 years later with the automobile and the tractor, when less than 15% of the population lived and worked on farms. Yet overall, the unemployment rate stayed the same, and people transitioned into other jobs. And I like to compare it to carpenters, people building houses. When you're just building a house, that's maybe fairly safe. But these days we build tall structures, which means people are up on scaffolds. They're up several stories, maybe 30 stories high. And 100 years ago, they were using hand tools, and you tended to need 2 people to operate each hand tool, one to hold it in place or 2 people to operate it. And you were climbing up high to do your work. Then power tools. And power tools meant that one person could manipulate what they were doing and working on, but you still had people climbing up scaffolds to do their job. Now what you're going to have is smarter power tools that could be called robots, and they're going to be flying up the side of the building, and the same workers are going to be standing underneath. They're not going to be in those, cherry pickers or those, whatever you call them, that go up the side of buildings, and I would never ever want to be on one of those. They're going to be using game controllers and looking at tablets and doing their work from a much safer position. And it's still going to be them doing the work, but we've removed one more of the dangerous aspects of it. In the same way that we started to do 50 years ago, when we started to use really big, expensive, and stupid robots to do some of our dangerous industrial automation. And, I'll just say we've had 50 years of that kind of industrial automation where hardly anybody saw the robots. Now what's changing, though, what makes this so exciting right now, is that we've overcome a lot of technological bumps in the road, and we're now able to have more affordable, far more effective robots that are capable of doing limited tasks in the real world. And the majority of uses are going to be B2B or B2B2C. So they're going to be in the business world. They're going to be delivering things in hotels or at FedEx offices or in warehouses, or they're going to be a home companion or a home vacuum cleaner that only has one or two functions. It's not a general purpose robot nor a general purpose AI, because we're not there yet, and I actually think that's a very long way away. But we can be changing the nature of our work and our houses simply, and particularly our agriculture and our elder care, where we need to make changes really quickly, just by doing some tasks a bit better.
Kaijen, give me what you think might be those killer app tasks for machines.
Well, one of them was mentioned earlier. Everyone wants robots to fold their laundry. So the one shown at CES does some limited things. Someday we'll have robots that can just, you put the pile of clothing in and it'll just do it all for you.
I must say I'm somewhat Elon Musk-like. We were promised flying cars, and we're getting somebody will fold our laundry.
You obviously don't do laundry.
What?
You don't do laundry.
I actually do my own laundry. I don't fold it as much as Kathy would like me to.
I would personally rather have a laundry machine that folds all my laundry than a flying car.
Yes, amen.
Well, any new technology needs a killer app to really get broad adoption. If we really want to accelerate the adoption of robotics, we need to create an app to get beer from the fridge. And the moment we nail that,
Every robotics lab I have been in across the world has started with a fetch me a beer. And in Australia, there's like a periodic table of beer on the doors of the lab. But sometimes I wonder if that's not why there are so few women in the field.
You mentioned something very important, which is we, in the United States at least, have a population that's getting very old, and we have a birth rate that's going down dramatically, and we also have kids that move away from their parents, and we have a real growing problem of we can't take care of our parents. And there are a lot of devices and systems and smart homes that are coming along to see whether someone's getting out of bed, whether they're taking their medication, whether they're healthy or not, but we need more. And that's the opportunity, the killer app for me that I see is helping us take care of our parents.
Keay, what do you think?
Can I mention two companies that have just spun out in the last
Sorry, you can upstage.
The two very cool startups that have come out in the last year to 2 years from Silicon Valley are going to really help with elder care. And, you know, nothing can be that full humanoid home helper robot. We're so far away from that. But one of the companies is Keay Health, which is leveraging a kind of smaller version of Keay, and it's focused only on helping people manage their complex medications. And it's actually now being prescribed through health services because we know that people respond much better to a human. And if you can't have a nurse 24/7, maybe that one thing that you do need, though, is help with the medication. And the other one has come out of robotics research. It's come out of the DARPA research for exoskeletons. And you can't call it an exoskeleton anymore because there's nothing hard in it. It was Superflex, and I think they've just changed their name again, and I don't know the name, but it is a soft undergarment that helps people get up and down from their chairs, or helps them with their arms. And it was first trialed on soldiers, and then it was trialed on people with cerebral palsy or muscular dystrophy, and now it's being released for elder care. Because anything that helps people stay in their own houses is just critical to have right now because we don't have the people.
Everything we discuss involves, as the Dell report I was reading said, human-computer interaction and